Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
If you wanted to script the perfect moment for chaos, hope, and just a hint of madness to collide, you honestly couldn't have timed it better than this, because right now the Toronto Blue Jays off-season feels like a kettle that's been left on the boil just a second too long. Reports are flying, insiders are circling, and the silence in between the noise feels louder than the noise itself. This is the kind of moment where one tweet, one leak, or one phone call can flip the entire narrative on its head. And before we go any further, do yourself a favor and like the video, share it with another Jays fan who's losing sleep over free agency, and subscribe so you don't miss what could be a very loud few days ahead. There's a strange poetry to this time of year, especially when Christmas is just around the corner and fans are refreshing their feeds like children shaking wrapped presents, desperate to know what's inside. While the rest of the baseball world pretends to slow down, the Jays are very much awake, and Ken Rosenthal has just dropped a line that feels less like casual commentary and more like a carefully placed match near a pile of fireworks. According to Rosenthal, the Blue Jays could have at least one more major signing left in them this off-season, and in the current climate, that sentence alone carries serious weight. What makes Rosenthal's words so compelling isn't just the suggestion of another big move, but the confidence behind it. This isn't framed as a vague possibility whispered into the void. It's delivered with the calm assurance of someone who knows how the league breathes at this stage of the winter. Rosenthal goes further, highlighting Alex Bregman as a strong fit in Toronto, referencing the existing pieces like George Springer and Miles Straw as if laying out a puzzle where only one or two pieces remain missing. And when someone as plugged in as Rosenthal, particularly with Scott Boras clients, speaks this plainly, it's not something you simply brush aside. The timing matters too, perhaps more than anything. We're no longer in the wild early days of free agency where rumors multiply for sport. We're edging closer to that phase where decisions crystallize, where leverage tightens, and where players begin to feel the weight of calendars rather than speculation. Being just days away from Christmas gives this report an added sense of urgency, because historically, this is when the market begins to move with intent rather than curiosity. For Rosenthal to suggest that the Jays have at least one major move left at this point is, frankly, a big deal. What adds another layer of intrigue is the broader chorus starting to sing the same tune. Jeff Passan, Robert Murray, and other respected voices have all begun hinting at imminent movement, and perhaps just as telling is who hasn't been speaking. The relative quiet from insiders like Shea Davidi and Ben Nicholson-Smith is almost suspicious, because in this market, silence often precedes impact. It feels like the calm before the announcement graphic drops, the kind of calm that makes fans check their phones during family dinners. Robert Murray, in particular, has poured fuel on the fire with his recent comments suggesting that one of the major free agents could come off the board before Christmas. Bregman, Bichette, Bellinger, and yes, Kyle Tucker were all grouped into that conversation, even if Tucker wasn't explicitly named in one specific screenshot. Murray's credibility has grown rapidly, agents trust him, and when someone like that starts drawing timelines rather than hypotheticals, you pay attention. Of course, we've been here before, and Jays fans know better than anyone how cruel anticipation can be. Just a week ago, there were reports suggesting Kyle Tucker was nearing a decision within 48 to 72 hours, and then nothing happened. The silence that followed felt almost personal. But this feels different, not because of one single report, but because of the sheer volume of aligned messaging. When Rosenthal says one thing, Passan hints at another, and Murray draws a line in the calendar, it starts to feel less like coincidence and more like choreography. All of this matters because the context around the Jays is shifting rapidly. The Orioles have been aggressive. The Red Sox are rumbling around impact bats. The Yankees, as always, loom with their own plans. The AL East doesn't wait for anyone, and standing still is the fastest way to fall behind. Toronto knows this, and the front office has been vocal about the need to get better, not incrementally, but meaningfully. This isn't about rounding off the roster anymore. It's about changing the ceiling. That's why Kyle Tucker continues to dominate the conversation like a main character refusing to leave the stage. Over the past few weeks, the Jays' pursuit of Tucker has started to feel less like traditional recruitment and more like a full-blown charm offensive. Teammates past and present have been openly encouraging him to come to Toronto, comments popping up on social media like digital breadcrumbs. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was early to the party. Miles Straw and Joey Loperfido followed suit. Tyler Heineman joined in. And then, just when things couldn't get any more speculative, the Instagram follows began to multiply. Now, let's be clear, Instagram follows are not contracts, and anyone claiming otherwise is having a bit of fun, but fun matters when you're trying to read the mood. Dave Popkins followed Tucker weeks ago. More recently, Ernie Clement joined that list, and even Jose Bautista, a name that still carries weight in this city, reportedly followed Tucker as well. Does this mean a signing is imminent? No. Does it mean something is happening behind the scenes? Possibly. At the very least, it shows a level of engagement and enthusiasm from Toronto that few other teams seem to be matching publicly. What's fascinating is how few confirmed suitors Tucker appears to have at this stage. The Dodgers are always mentioned, almost by default. The Phillies have seemingly cooled. The Orioles were briefly linked, then faded. Meanwhile, the Jays are consistently described as being firmly in the mix by multiple outlets. In a market that thrives on mystery, clarity is powerful, and right now, Toronto feels like the most tangible presence in Tucker's orbit. At the same time, Alex Bregman refuses to exit the conversation, and that's where things get really interesting. On paper, Bregman makes sense. He's proven, polished, and would immediately raise the floor of the lineup. But there's a lingering question about fit, particularly when it comes to contract length and how it ages. Bregman is excellent, but Kyle Tucker feels transformational, the kind of player who doesn't just fill a need but redefines expectations. That's why some fans have started to wonder whether the Bregman chatter is as much about strategy as it is about genuine intent. Floating interest in Bregman could be a way for the Jays to apply subtle pressure elsewhere, to remind other targets that Toronto has options and isn't desperate. It's notable that this reporting hasn't been driven by the usual Boras-friendly channels, which raises eyebrows. It wouldn't be the first time a front office used controlled leaks as a negotiating tool. As a fan, you're left balancing excitement with caution, hope with experience. You want the splash. You crave the moment when the notification finally comes through and confirms that all this waiting meant something. And while Bellinger would be interesting, and Bregman would be impactful, Tucker feels like the move that signals true intent to dominate the AL East rather than merely survive it. So here we are, perched on the edge of Christmas, watching the final pieces drift into place. The reports are lining up. The timelines are tightening. The recruiting has gone from quiet phone calls to public persuasion. Whether the payoff arrives tomorrow, on Christmas Eve, or just after the holidays, it genuinely feels like something is coming. And when it does, it will make this stretch of speculation feel like the slow build it was always meant to be. Until then, drop your thoughts in the comments about who you want the Jays to land. Make sure you like and subscribe so you're here when the news breaks, and remember that sometimes, the wait is part of the story.